What's up, hackers? Welcome to Chill Code. My name is Taggart. Tonight we are going to write some Nim. I know, shocking that we're actually going to go back into this beloved programming language, but we're actually going to be building a thing. We're not going to be doing research tonight. We're going to actually be trying to build something useful. Well, kind of. It's not like we don't have other options in this category, but I haven't seen one of these written in Nim yet, and I wanted to know what it was going to take. What's up, hacker? So what we're going to do is we're going to be writing NimBuster, and so it doesn't really exist yet, but the repo is out there. And what NimBuster is going to do is do what FearOxBuster does what GoBuster does, all of those. So essentially what we're going to do is write an HTTP brute forcer. It's going to take a list of URLs. Oh, were you really? Were you writing directory brute forcer in Nim? Great. Okay. Well, obviously, this is there's some prior work on this. But we want to start it pretty stone stupid. Basically, we're going to parse command line URL and word list, right? We're going to figure out how to get our word list in. And yeah, I have a request from Husky to make it do ASCII art of Ray Parker Jr. Saying doing the bustin' makes me feel good, which I'm not opposed to. And I do actually want to, later in the development of this, if it becomes a thing, I do want to start using, you know, a little bit more creative terminal utilities to make it look pretty. But for now, we're going to keep it pretty simple. And this is an opportunity to learn a little bit about how HTTP is handled in Nim, also how command line arguments are handled in Nim. That was my primary motivation for this, really. I think that we can make a lot of cool tools in Nim, obviously, and to do so, I want to see how it handles the command line situation, especially if it handles it better than Python, and especially if it handles it better than Rust. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to write a command line tool in Rust, but man, oh man. So the primary tool that you use generally to do a command line tool in Rust is called clap. Which, I'm sure there's a joke somewhere in there between crabs and clap. Anyway, the way that you define a CLI argument in clap is with a YAML file, which I have some thoughts about. And so you define all the args and the defaults and the types in YAML, and then clap reads the YAML and then creates the parser for you. I don't love that. A hacker just sent me his little parser over Discord. That's pretty cool. With the async pragma. That's interesting. Alright, cool. We'll build on that a little bit, I think. But yeah, I don't love the way this works. And then obviously in Python you have, what is it, opparse? Right? And opparse is fine, but it could do better. So I'm really interested to see how Nim handles all this. So we're going to get started here. The Flet, how are you doing? To start off here, use CLI gen. Well, I want to see what parseOp does. I like to start with first party, and then we'll move on. I know that there is CLI gen, right? We go to nimble.directory. We look for CLI gen. Yeah. but I want to see how it works with the built-in parse opt first. Gingerroot, thank you so much for the gift sub to Jeff. Alrighty, let's build some stuff here. So the first thing we're gonna do is parse the command line URL, and to do that, let me close out this opt parse here. We don't need that. We are gonna need parse opt. So the example it has here is we're gonna create an init opt parser, and basically you give it a list of, you give it a string to create the parser. That's kind of interesting. I never love it when it's too auto magical, but you know, whatever. We'll give it a shot. All right. So basically, what I'm seeing here. By the way, if this is too small, let me zoom it in a little bit more. You give it a string, and AB is one option. E with maybe a default or a type of number. I think that's what that's doing here. A foo option, a bar with a default of 20, and then a positional argument here of file.txt. I think that's what we're looking at. So you have a nice mix of option flags, typed values, more option flags with a verbose option flag, and then you have one with a default, and then you have a positional argument, I believe, is what we're looking at here. So let's get into it. I'm going to turn down the tunes just a little bit. Loud in my headphones. Yeah. Jeez. Okay. So, I think that's what we have going on here. And we're going to look at opt parser. Unhelpful. Yeah, it's just the source. Let's get back up here, init opt parser. And let's look at the init opt parser. There we go. Here's where we actually start getting our data. If command line equals string, the real command line is provided by the OS module is retrieved instead if it's available. If the command line is not available, value error. Okay. See this documentation about these parameters. I will see these documentations. Ah. Did I just have to scroll up? Yeah. Reading the actual content of the page can be helpful. That's a pro tip right there. So the following syntax is supported when arguments for the short no-val and long no-val parameters, which are described later. ABCD, E5, E equals 5. Long options, and then arguments. Everything that does not start with a dash. So options and arguments, I think, is a good distinction here to be made. 3 kinds of tokens. The dash option, commonly used to note that every token that follows an argument is interpreted as a long option. Okay. All right, I think I've got this. So, okay, so we'll start with, if you think about how we kind of want this to go, let's write out a bit of our usage here, where it's going to be like, NimBuster, and then U for the URL, and then the word list, wordlist.txt. Super basic, right? Super basic. We're not doing anything exciting. We're just, getting a URL and getting a word list. Hey, Kay, the cyber guy. Good to see you. How was your stream last night? I'm sorry I wasn't able to stick around for it. So that's our usage, which means we're going to take basically 2 of these, and we'll create a short option and a long option, right? The long option would be _URL, and the long option here, of course, would be word list, right? So that's the plan. Let's actually write it. So to start, we're going to import std parseopt, and then we will create the parser. And if I'm following this correctly, basically what we're going to do is -u URL. Hey, GoPro. And then here, and then word list. And I actually think these are not, oh, these are options though. They're not arguments. They need to be arguments. Oh, no. That's right. That's right. So I think we have this right. And there are 3 kinds of tokens enumerated with the command line kind enum. Let's look at the command line kind enum. The detected command line token. Command end, argument, long option, short option. Got it. This is now the Nim ASMR channel.
Good evening. We're writing some Nim tonight.
Enjoy that. As we learned last night, this is actually the Nim ASLR channel. We do Nim, and then we fight with address space layout randomization. Thanks, Duct Tape. Thanks, Duct Tape. Appreciate it. All right, so we've got this while true, which presumably is just like the loop of the program. P.next, case P.kind. Oh, this is a really weird way to do it. It's not the main loop of the program. It is, God, that is weird. I guess you could do this in, so P is like an iterator, basically, is what I'm seeing. The parser is an iterator. That's what we're calling next here. Wild. And so if it's of type command end, then we break out of the loop. Ugh. I don't know if I love that pattern. We'll play with it for now, but yeesh. There's something that just skeeves me out about using an infinite loop and a break like that. Although I do appreciate that Nim has the case of. It's like a switch case, but this is how you would do it in Haskell too, which of course I love. That's really interesting. Okay, so we're going to do this while true situation. So this is where we parse our args. So we'll put those in here. So while true, per Haskell. Biguar. Not Pascal. I'm not that old. Okay, so we do p.next, and then we do case p.kind of, and then oh, no, that's interesting. So of actually goes on the match line rather than on top here as it would in Haskell. So we have of, and so kind is a part of an enum basically. So we have, it's either a command and it's a short option or long option. That's what we're going to play with. And then otherwise it's an option and a value, right? With a key and a value. And otherwise it's an argument. So we'll say of, I mean, whatever. I would just be like reproducing this whole thing. So let me just copy and paste this. Ugh. Wow, that tab is really aggressive. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna have... Oh, it doesn't like that. Not all cases are covered. Missing command argument. What? Are you sure? Oh, case p.kind. There we go. Indentation. So command end break, we know that that's how we end the thing of command short option, long option. If the value equals nothing, echo option p key. I see. The get opt iterator kind key val in p.getOpt. So this is how you would do it without the infinite loop, right? With this get opt iterator. And there is no write help or anything. So this is pretty simplistic, all things considered. It's not even the same level of sophistication as the opt-parse library in Python, which is why I guess CLI gen exists. Yeah, which makes sense. Okay. Who is F? R is R. To table. Right. Okay. So pretty clearly we're going to be going to CLI gen, just because it doesn't have it has the ability to do what we want here in ways that the parse opt library really just doesn't. Interesting. And a little disappointing, if I'm honest. So we have short options, we have long options. So we'll say if p.key equals yeah, GoPro, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about GoBuster, FerroxBuster, but writing it in Nim. That's what's up. I'll tell you what, why don't we'll play with this a little bit, just to see how it looks. We'll compile this and see what happens. So we'll nim c nimbuster.nim. Actually, nim run, right? And I have to give it arguments. That'd probably be a good idea, huh? Option U, URL, W, word list. U. So it doesn't actually accept. Let's try it this way. So funny. Oh, you know what would be a good idea? If I... Oh, no. It is set up. Okay. So option U, word list, command short option. So these are just it. Oh, interesting. So this isn't actually pulling the arguments sent to the command line. It's just walking through the options in the parser. Okay. Oh. Oh, wait a minute. I think I misunderstood this. This is not configuring the parser. Is it? This is like faking your command line input. Yeah. If I empty this out, right? And then I rerun this thing. That's how that works. Oh, that's wild. Okay, so this just starts pulling stuff in. And then yeah. So if I give it, there's my U for URL and there's my W for word list. Okay. Okay. We can work with this. All right, we'll do this C style then, just for the moment. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up. Yeah. Usage is declared but not used. Give me a minute. VS Code. What we're gonna do then is we're gonna declare some variables. And by the way, anyone watching, if there's like a more nimmy way to do this, let me know, because I'm definitely just kind of feeling this out to see what makes sense in this language. This isn't how I do it in Python. This isn't how I do it in Rust. This isn't how I do it in any other language. But I'm trying to like work through. This is kind of like the direction the language is pushing me. So we've got word list, right? String. So we're gonna declare it. But the whole thing is we're gonna check once we parse the options to see if they're empty, right? And if at the end we get to it and we say, right, if URL equals blank or word list is blank. Actually, let's call. I still like having a main option. Or a main proc. Even if we don't need one. Are Nim programmers called Nimics? No. You've been playing too much Pokemon, man. I was gonna say Nimrods, but yeah, Nimians is good too. Either way, not as cool as Rustations. and then return. And I seem to recall although I don't know where I have it now. Gophers ain't bad either. That's true. Cybershock. Thank you so much for the follow. Where is my... I just updated this too. It's an interpreter. Yep, that's what I want. When is main module? That's like the if name equals main in Python. When is main module? Okay. Return not allowed here. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it is. I just forgot an equal sign. There we go. I have to keep reminding myself of that Nim uses an equal sign to declare its procs. Very similar again. Yeah, it's funny. The more I work with Nim, the more Haskell-y it feels in certain ways. Between it has let statements, it has case ofs. There's definitely some functional influence here that I quite enjoy. All right, so we're gonna I'm gonna write this into a proc too, actually. Do I want those to be void? I can actually solve the global problem if I do this. Now that I think about it. If I return the URL in the word list as a string, then I don't actually have to have a global variable. And that's just like, that's a code smell, right? So we'll tablify this in here. And then I want to change this up. So it's got each option has a key equals -u or p.key equals URL. And actually, they're set up like this, right? They ignore the dashes. Then we'll say URL equals p.val. elif p.key. Actually, not an elif, just an if. P.key equals w or p.key. Okay, I'm feeling like better about this. It's not perfect. I can't set up requireds or anything like that, but I mean, we kind of are, right? With the print usage, we're going to check to make sure that they're present. So p.key equals word list, then word list equals key.val, and then of command argument. We're not going to do anything for that. Is there a continue? There is a continue. Great. Love it. What's the problem here? Parse arcs describe button use, whatever. we just do this? Yeah, okay. Undeclared identifier. Right. URL equals and so we're gonna return URL word list. Good. Oh, let. Does that work? Can I do destructuring in Nim? Okay, so first of all, I need to be a little bit more explicit with my definition. It shouldn't say tuple, it should say string. Yeah, I mean, that's what it feels like, GoPro. It feels like I'm in Barcelona trying to speak Catalan, and I've got Spanish, so I can like kind of make my way around. That's basically what it feels like writing this. Works when introducing new identifiers in a varlet block. Okay. Just thinking deeper than this. Yeah, that should work. But I gotta... Awesome. I really like that. And by the way, if you've looked at this and you're not super familiar with what's going on here, this is a neat little pattern that you'll see pretty frequently. GoPro, Golang has this pattern kind of all the time, but they have a specific return type for this, where in Go you can like return multiple values. But the idea is, with a return from a function, generally speaking, you're returning a single value. But if you return a tuple, you get two things. And that's what we're doing here. We're taking advantage of the tuple to return both the URL and the word list from parse args. Okay, so we're going to do word list. You can return whatever you like, nothing, single value, a whole struct full of things. I swear there was like... There's a specific thing. Return 3.7. Oh, I guess it is. Just like you can return multiple values whenever. But I think that's like a really common pattern in Go, if I remember, from the like month and a half I was doing a lot of Go, where you very frequently will set up like to return nil for an error position in a tuple, and then return the actual value. Which is different from how Rust, for example, handles the situation, which is Rust will use a result or an option type that you have to unpack and then pattern match to say whether it is an error type or it's the actual value that you were trying to get. Alright, I think we can run this now to see if it works. And we'll run it empty first to make sure. Okay, we got our usage. So far, so good. And now let's give it... Let's just do echo... I know I'm going to need this, so I might as well just import it now. Stir utils. Every time. Every time. What I really should do is I need to set up Nim as a custom search engine. Actually, let me do that right now. Because this is something that I do when I'm learning a language, and it's crazy helpful. Okay, so I want to search for... Let's just open up a new tab here. And let's search for... Stir utils. Oh, it doesn't even tell me what I'm searching for. That's annoying. Yeah, I love custom search engines too. I don't know why it's being a butthead about letting me see what the search string is. Oh well. Is it not stir utils? Gotta be a hacker check network request? Yeah, I guess so. Oh, it is stir format, isn't it? You can use either format or the unary operator for formatting. The difference between them is subtle but important. I always, yeah, so the format is more aesthetically pleasing, but it hides a small gotcha. The string is a generalized raw string literal. This is some surprising effects. Okay. That's good to know. Also, that's what we actually want. We don't need stir utils just yet. So we're going to import this instead, and then we're going to replace that with an ampersand. God, you know, I wonder if that's why... Got string, but expected. I don't have those because I don't care. The Blackzillion. I will tell you. It's a Windows 10 machine. Hang on a second. Here. Are you happy now? It's an AMD Ryzen 3900X, 64 gigs of RAM. Thank you, Zmon. Good catch. Alright, that makes a lot more sense. You know, this might actually also explain something else that I was dealing with today, where all of a sudden, a reverse shell that I had written, like, what, 2 weeks ago, stopped working with no changes to anything. And what we found out was that in PowerShell, all of a sudden the reverse shell didn't like having the command quoted, and I don't know why. It just stopped dealing with it. It was working fine. I went back and checked the video when Husky and I built the thing, and it worked fine. And then today, as I was trying to use it for work, it's just stopped. And removing the quotes around the command worked fine. So I don't know. Something happened somewhere. Although I didn't change anything in nim. I don't know. That one's really messing with me. Because the behavior changed, but none of the dependencies changed. Unless something changed in PowerShell somehow that I don't know about. Which seems impossible. Okay. Back on topic, though. Did I... If URL equals empty string or word list equals empty string. Let's try to make sure that we're catching these the correct way. Sure enough, says got option U, got option W. Couldn't it be AMPC and Defender who broke your PowerShell? That is what I thought. Except, Defender didn't alert. AMPC didn't alert. I didn't... So, interestingly, like, when I gave it a bad command, I would get standard error back. But if I gave it a legit command, it just, like, repeated my output back to me. For whatever reason. Or my input back to me. And I was running this on tools with EDR, and it was catching, like, other behavior, right? But it didn't at all catch... It didn't stop it from happening, right? It didn't prevent it. And Defender wasn't actually running on one of the systems. Another EDR was running. So no, I don't think that was the situation. I even turned Defender off now that I think about it to test that theory. It was just some other issue. Super strange. I'll demo it now. I have it somewhere. Yeah, okay, well, here, let's play with it. Let me go get it real quick. Take a quick break from this. Here's my NimRS. By the way, if you're interested in this, pretty fun. I updated it to be cross-platform. Or at least Windows and Linux. It's not complicated in the least. Okay, so I'll just vim NimRS here. Ugh. Hate when I paste from like GitHub just in particular have this problem for me. Okay, looks good. Now I am going to break it first. So here's my exec process, right? Here's PowerShell.exe, nop, w hidden, and then I'm gonna do this. Okay, single quotes. Yeah, cool. Now, let me split my window here. Set up a listener on 9999. And now I will nim c d ming w. I think I have this installed in WSL. RS. Yep. Okay. And because this is WSL, I should be able to just fire off nimrs.exe. And look, there's my shell. Now, if I do a who am I? Yeah, okay, so it's working. So the problem is persisting here. So who am I? I just get it back. Right? And I'm not getting a defender alert. I'm not getting anything. It's just happening. Now, if I give it something like a quote, right? I'm getting PowerShell error back, and notice that it's double quoted. Right? Now, let's kill this. Bring it up here. Oop, I didn't want to rebuild it. Now, I'm going to go remove those quotes. Rebuild it. Set up the listener. And you can go back and check the video on YouTube. By the way, we cross-post all the stuff here to YouTube for posterity. You can go check out when I built this thing with Husky. We had the quotes in the source for the Windows shell, and it worked fine. Nothing changed. I didn't update Nim. I didn't update any of the packages. I am freaking out. It is totally mysterious to me what possibly could have resulted in this change in behavior. Okay, I'm feeling better that it's not just me and somebody isn't like, oh yeah, it's XYZ. Maybe it was something local. This was on like 3 different systems. I even had my friends test it at work. I got nothing. And like, in regular PowerShell, this is what's plainly happening, right? Is that it's getting the quoted command and echoing it back. So it's like, it's working as intended. Fun fact, running PowerShell, who am I using double single quotes? Still works? It does? Do you mean... Oh, you mean actual, not double single quotes, you mean double quotes. Oh, I do the whole thing. What? That's wild. So that actually should have worked. Either way. Huh? Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but yeah, God, that's weird. And I still don't know why it's happening. But if you're interested in playing with it, the code is here. You're more than welcome to it. And also, by the way, like, for my money, this is one of the easiest shells, reverse shells, I've ever written. By the way, not for nothing, but I had Defender on the whole time I was just doing that. And none alerts, right? So with, you know, it's not Meterpreter, but if all you want is a callback with RCE, other EDRs do alert on this. I should mention that. Other EDRs do alert on this. I think that's because I gave them a hard time with it. Nika, I thought the same thing, but again, nothing changed. I've been using NIM 148 the whole time. And we even thought maybe one of the dependencies, like WinIm, which is the Windows API, or we don't even use that, do we, for that reverse shell? Without like net or osproc or something. I mean, these are all first party, these are all part of the standard library. And we thought maybe like a recompile updates packages or something. Nope, nothing. I really have no explanation for what's happening. Like, the only thing, maybe? The only thing that I could think that maybe changed, that could have possibly changed, was the terminal emulator. Like, maybe because I was using Windows Terminal in all of the situations. So if Windows Terminal somehow updated to change how it interprets stuff, but that doesn't make any sense. Because it's still just sending text to the shell. I got nothing. I got nothing. Other than it was like a Halloween treat to me from NIM. Just making my life a little bit more spooky. Okay, back to the problem at hand. So we're not getting U or W. It doesn't seem like. I can chain these URL word list. Yeah, see? It's not getting updated properly. Is that because of the var keyword? Am I doing something silly with var? I know that's like language first principles here, but we have both a let and a var, and I am not totally certain on our differences. So let's check it out. Is this what I want? Or I want the language reference, don't I? No, that was it. Keywords as identifier, string literals. No. Hey, Oreo Bite. It's going, sorta. Var statement. There we go. Var statements declare new local and global variables and initialize them. A comma-separated list of variables can be used to specify variables of the same type. Oh, that's good news. I should have done that. So var URL word list. And actually, don't have to do that. Does that change it? Variables are always initialized with a default value if there's no initializing expression. So what's the difference between var and let? And binds a value to them. What's the blue and white swirling extension? Frozen Spirit. That's actually my profile image to indicate that this is my tech Brave profile rather than my personal. Or my home. I just like spirals. And weirdly, Brave doesn't let you set images for this. You can only set like certain patterns, which is fine. Just kind of interesting. Okay, so a let statement declares. No, it was a good question. I have some weird stuff up here, like my custom tab renamer, which is my own extension. So a let statement declares a new local or global single assignment variable and binds value to them. A syntax is the same as the var, except the keyword var is replaced by the keyword let. Are not I values cannot be passed to var. Okay. A let statements are immutable after creation. They need to find a value when they are declared. Okay, that is the way to bury that in the third graph, Nim. That is the most important part of this definition. A let statement is immutable after creation. That's kind of a big deal, as opposed to a var, which presumably is not. All right, let's see what happens now that we've changed up the... It's still empty. Let's make sure our piping here is set up correctly. It is. So the issue is not in collecting it from the proc here. Hey, Tsar. We're working on creating a URL brute forcer like GoBuster or DirBuster or FairXBuster, but we're doing it in Nim. Dill Pickle, thank you so much for the follow. Okay, so we're getting these correctly, but and notice that actually the behavior worked. The problem here is about the URL and word list. Got option U, option P. Let's see if it gets assigned at all. If it's getting, like, unassigned somewhere. It's like a control flow issue that I'm missing here. No. This is... I mean, honestly, a little embarrassing, but I can't assign values to a variable? What? What's happening? That's what I thought. It's immutable. First of all, shouldn't it be yelling at me? It's not. And lets would be immutable. But vars apparently are not. Alright, well, we're gonna do... Yeah, I know in Rust you have to change can't... Okay, let's try this another way. I don't know why this is such an issue, but let's try this another way. One of the things that's kind of weird about nim procs is that they have a built-in return type or a return value called result. It's like a pre-named thing. And so I can actually, if I do it this way, I can omit this return entirely. But here I'm going to try result 0 equals p.val. I still want to do it this way, regardless of the other thing I just thought of. But let's try this. So crazily, this result is just kind of built into nim, right? And so this should return something. Still no, but to prove the point, let's say URL. Dang. That didn't work at all. Or it did work and it got unassigned. Aha. Aha. So the issue has to do with how we're assigning this stuff. With the p.val. We've identified that's where the issue lies. So let's go to our opt parse, or parse opt. P.val. Is p.kind. And so QHFix, thank you so much for the follow. Opt parser key val. The detected command line token key and value pair. The key is the option or the argument, and the value is not quotes if the option was given a value. Nika, it does? Something's wrong for you then, friend. Nim is not a slow install. Hey, so as I was reading through this, I was thinking about how I actually have to set command line arguments in Nim, right? And one of the ways is that I have to do a colon for single line or single character arguments. And in fact, if we look at the parsing options, you can kind of see that, right? Where it's got a colon for value assignments and for the assignments here. So this is just kind of like a nim special thing. So that's fine. So what we're going to do is change up our usage to clarify. That we're getting that. What that means then is that we're good. If I look at, let me get rid of some of this echo. No, that one I want to keep. I want to get rid of the echo here. Okay, so now let's try and release S2. One more time. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Let's just get that going. All right, now I think I want this inside of the parse args, just for scoping. And now it's time to do some stuff. The first thing we're going to need to do is get the word list. So to do that, we're going to have to open a file, right, and read stuff from it. That shouldn't be too tricky. I'm pretty sure there's like an open. Not an HP utils. I want... IO open. System/IO. Yeah. Opens a file name with given mode. That's exactly what I want. All right, so we're going to import std/io. Or not? Is it? Oh, is it? Is that part of the prelude? Thank you for the inline documentation, Visual Studio Code. Okay, so I know it might seem weird for me to be using both VS Code and Vim at the same time, but that's kind of how this goes. I'm using VS Code mainly for syntax checking and safety, essentially. If I were more comfortable, I would probably be doing this in Vim anyway. But great. So we've got wordlist.txt, and we're going to open it. Let's say let f equals open wordlist. And it should be in write or read mode by default, right? Expression has no type or is ambiguous. Open returns us a what? Oh, dang. Is there like a with situation like we do in Python? Nope. All right, I want to see a file open example. Oh, and this should be FM read, I guess. Not R. Yeah. Oh, that solved that problem straight away. The issue was that I didn't have the mode correct. Yes, Nika, the issue is when the single quotes are present. Oh, returns a seek, not an array. Oh, snap. I don't even have to give it... I don't have to do... This isn't a two-parter? I don't have to do... I was thinking Python, right? You open the file, then you read lines from the file pointer. I don't even have to do that in Nim. I just, like, give it the file name. Not triggering on Linux PowerShell? That's real interesting. Well, Nika, the shell, if you're using my reverse shell without any modifications, it's going to default to using bash. Even if it's on, if you're firing it up on, because the way it's set up is it has when defined windows, right? So when you're on a Windows system, it's going to use PowerShell. Otherwise, it's going to fire up bash. Unless you made some modifications to that. Okay. So, oh man, this is so cool. Readlines just takes a file name. It doesn't even take a... Just read lines? Use read lines with two arguments. The first one is read end lines from the file name. File name raises an IO exception in case of error. Can I just read file? Read all? Yeah, read all. Insane. Alright, what's your problem here? Oh, this one we actually do have to do it the way that I thought. But it's not f dot, it's just like read all, and we give it the pointer f like that. Got tainted string, but expected seek string. Oh. Interesting. Okay, so that was educational. We learned how to open a word list. Shell, no, -c, cmd. So I am gonna try. You guys aren't gonna let this go, are you? I actually want to see if this makes a difference. So now I'm gonna try it with the ampersand. I'm gonna put the single quotes back in. That made no difference whatsoever. Single quotes still messing me up. Alright, let's see what this does. Nice bad exploits are my favorite. Hey! That's slurp. It's a tainted string. Can I not split at a new line? This is in stir utils. Yeah. Give me a split from stir utils. Yeah, that's what I want. So I want to split on the new line here. And what that does is it will turn it into a seek of string. It should anyway. Dot split on the new line. Oh, come on. Attempt to call undeclared routine split. I didn't like that at all. Can I do that? Still no. Chungus, thank you so much for the follow. Suspicion intensifies. Waffles or pancakes? Boy, really depends on the mood. Waffles at a hotel. Pancakes at a diner. Oh. Duh. I'm being... Of course. I forgot to import stir utils. That's why I was freaking out about split. Yeah, there we go. So now I should be able to turn this into a seek string without too much trouble. Lovely. Or W in words. W. Just make sure that's working the way I want. Sure is. Cool. So now we have individual words. That's great. And now comes network stuff. And I know that right now we still have to do, we're not doing anything async just yet, but that's okay. We're going to start with HTTP client. So we're going to need this. We're going to import std HTTP client. And I'll import my standard stuff together. And then very much like this, var client equals new HTTP client. Now I won't have to change this. I'm going to do let client equals new HTTP client. And then we're going to do client.getContent, which will be kind of interesting. So get connects to the host name, performs a get request, and it returns a future async response. Cool. That should have a version, a status, a header, body. Okay, so very simply, we're going to say var URL equals actually, I don't even have to declare it, do I? I'm going to say r equals client dot get, and what are we getting? We're getting URL /w. We're going to echo r dot stats. Does var let work in Nim like they do in JavaScript? Neon, I'm so glad you asked that question. Yeah, we were just looking at that. No, it doesn't. Well, kind of. So in JavaScript, you have like bubbling concerns with var, right? And that's like why let and const were added. In ES, what was that, 2016, I think they added let and const. But and scoping issues, right, was another reason. That doesn't really seem to be what's going on here with var, but with let, though, the declarations are immutable, so there is that kind of... Actually, let isn't immutable in JavaScript, is it? Const is technically immutable, but even then it's not really, is it? Because JavaScript doesn't do deep object inspection. For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, here's a very, very quick comparison, or a quick explanation. So JavaScript has three variable declaration keywords. The first one is var, x equals 5, right? No problem. I also have let x equals 5. I have to delete x, though. Let x equals 5. Come on. Do let x equals 5. Then we'll do x. Right? Works the same way. And then I can do x equals 7. I can reassign it, no problem. Now, one more time, we do const x equals 5. And I do x equals 7, or 8, whatever. Now, const is going to stop me from doing that. But, here's the thing. If I do const x equals, like, let's do an array, even. doesn't care. So it's not really immutable. I can add stuff even though I just defined it with const, because it only cares about the object type, really, and like single level inspection for arrays and objects. No, they do not. It's totally mutable, but as long as it stays the same type, and I don't do a reassignment, it's fine with it. Totally messy. This is like one of the reasons why you have to do, when you do like real estate management in JavaScript applications, you have to start thinking about things like Redux. So how would you change a const number? You don't. That's the whole point. You don't change it. Don't use const. If we do like const y equals 10, and then y, can I even increment it? No. Yeah, that's the whole point. Like const works for like primitives, but they do not work for. Actually, is that true? Let's see, const s. Do a string. Yeah, so strings, ints, primitive types I can't mess with const, but arrays, objects, anything more complicated, I can definitely mess with. JavaScript. During the Nim stream, that was our palette cleanser. So okay, we have to change up. So I gave it an HTTPS URL, and so HTTP client yelled at me because it said unhandled exception, SSL support is not available, cannot connect over SSL, compile with DSSL to enable. All right, I'll do that. So I'm just gonna give it the SSL flag. Nice. That is pretty slick. Now we're going to declare some status codes. Also, what type is the status code? It's a string. Okay. So these are the status codes that we care about. 301. Now, technically, you know, in a more mature version of this would be something that you could pass by command line argument, right? Just like we do in FerroxBuster, you can pass status codes. You can do it in GoBuster too, I think, where you can customize what you actually care about. But for now, I pretty much, and GoPro, check me on this, I pretty much only care about 200s, right? Things that I'm good to get. 301, 403 actually I don't care about. I don't care about forbiddens so much, but I do care about 302. So I care about redirects. So anything that I can like get to, these are the things that I want to know about. 403s, you know, sometimes you can be interested in that because, you know, sometimes it can be like the parent directory is forbidden, but then they didn't set up the ACL correctly so you could get the stuff inside of it. That doesn't really happen in real life. Yeah, no, I definitely want to make this an option eventually. Hell, we could do it right now. I mean, why not, right? Why wait? This is easy enough. You line in it. Okay. And oh, wait a minute. Can I do multiple? Yeah, I can, right? That's not gonna freak me out, is it? No. $200 for a 301 for a 3. There you go. Now it's a command line option. 302, 307, 308. Who's out here throwing 307s? What does that even mean? Temporary redirect? Really? Alright. I don't think I've ever seen a 307 on purpose in my life. These are. I think I pulled this right for NimBuster. Yeah, you got those defaults from Fernox. It's when you want to allow reader, but only able to check next time in case it's only temporary. Yeah. But then, what isn't a 302 also a temporary? The 301 is permanent. Oh, 302 is found. Right. Fine. 7. What was it? 308. I keep having to remind myself that these lines aren't as long as I think they are. It's just that my font is really big. This is VS Code, yeah. Let's see. Ah! So, fun fact, that's a GeForce experience for me. Probably not what you intended me to do. What is it, word wrap? Yeah, word wrap. Why did I have that? I had that off, and I can't remember why. Oh, I remember why I had it off. I had it off because of the shellcode that we were using in the Nim interpreter, right? Because it was so long, I didn't want it to wrap. I wanted it to go off the screen so I didn't have to worry about it. And I actually usually work with wrap off just because I want the discipline of keeping my lines short. Yeah, no, it's good. VS Code used to, I guess it doesn't anymore, or I haven't gotten there yet. It used to have by default, it used to have a guide for like your max columns, which I appreciated. Okay. status dash codes. Result 2 equals p.val.split on the comma. Cool. Hey, CTech. Welcome. Welcome. Okay. So we've got the command line arguments as we've got the status codes as the command line argument. We have this working. Now, really, simply, what are we talking about here? We're talking about if r.status in status codes. Print echo. Status. And then W. There's a category called software and game development now. Are you with the software and game development lobby, CTech? This is the second person who's told me that there's a software and game development category. I know. Here's the thing. I am waiting for the cybersecurity category, which GoPro has set up a petition to have added to Twitch. This is pretty much a security stream. We're doing programming on Wednesday nights, but it's still got a security flavor. And so the thing that I feel most closely fits is science and technology. I will also add that, generally speaking, what I see a lot of in the software and game development category is mostly games. And I ain't looking for a whole bunch of people coming in to the stream and be like, where's the game? This is boring. That's not what we're about here. So I appreciate the recommendation, but yeah. Why aren't we in the hot tubs category? Because you're, because I like you too much to subject you to that. All right. Let's see what this output looks like. I gotta look this up. I think I did this wrong. Alright, status code should be switched. QH picks. I figure. Of course, MingW is not included in the NimZip. No. C-Tech, thank you for the follow. So status codes in r.status? What QH picks? Why is that true? Because here I have single value in sequence. Status codes is my sequence here, and the status is the individual. Oh! Good call. So it's not that we need to split it, we need to clean the status. Did I get that right, Subster? It doesn't have a status code. Sorry, it's not like request. Subster 2.5. Okay. Yep. Subster works the way we'd expect it to. No, it doesn't. 2 to 5. 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Wait, what? Oh, sorry, 2. 3, 4, 5. Okay. So it doesn't work the same way that we're used to. Yeah, sorry. Let me check. I'm pretty sure. Get async response. Yeah, it only has a status. It doesn't have a status code. It's not like requests. So that's fine, though. We just made our own. So I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. Let's try it against a real word list. This is my own website, so I can hammer it. Discovery, web content, big.txt. Woo-hoo-hoo! Didn't like that. Kind of open. Oh, interesting. Let's give it the absolute path. MNT, C, users. Hey, Destroy Worlds. So then for our next trick, we need to do like a status bar or something, right? We need to put something on the terminal. And how do you do that? It's something I actually should know, but I don't know. Like, how do you have a static part of the terminal that doesn't new line every time? And with return. That's interesting. So it looks like here it begins with it. Print new line on complete. Nim is great, but I'd love to see this in Haskell. Oh, Destroy Worlds, you're killing me. I want to see it in Haskell. Oof. This is like... This is the exact kind of problem set you would never... Yes, the carriage return is just resetting the type head on old typewriters. That's so funny. Let's give that a shot. I hope that's all it takes. That's really cool. Problem is, it's definitely finding stuff. I want to race this thing against another. I want to race it against NimBuster, see what the speed difference is. Because right now this is single threaded, although one thing I was looking at before we started is that it is crazy simple to make this a multi-threaded application. No, this is single thread. You'd never do this in Haskell, but I'd like to see someone try. So, and let's talk about why. Like, you could definitely do it. The reason why you wouldn't do it in Haskell is just because the nature, at least for me, like, the nature of this problem is so iterative. It literally is. Like, you have to do one after another, right? It is not the kind of problem set where it, like, elegantly reduces down to a sequence of data transformations. Let me kill this here. And then we got to change up. We can't do for W in words anymore. Now we have to do a, which actually is good news for us performance-wise. Because if the for loops in Nim match the same pattern as for loops in almost any other language, when you do this abstraction here where you're doing basically a hidden index lookup, there is like a slight performance loss versus an explicit integer indexing. They may have fixed that in it, but it's definitely true in Python and it's definitely true in JavaScript. Now, those are interpreted languages, so take that for what it's worth. But that's actually an important, if you're curious about that in JavaScript in particular, if you care about your looping performance, to get the most out of your loop, you always want to do a raw integer iteration rather than doing the for x of pattern, because you lose a lot. And the for each built-in method in arrays, also you lose some performance on that for the abstraction. All right, so instead we're going to do for I in 0. Frozen, thank you so much for the subscription. I really appreciate that. In word to words.len -1. Now, we're going to say let word string equals words I, of course. But then yeah. And I'm sure that if you were to look at how the bytecode gets assembled, it would be clear why that's the case. Oh, I gotta turn this into a word. Yeah. All right, so now Now, I don't think this is going to work exactly the way that I want, but I want to see what this does. I+1, right? Yeah. Yeah, that didn't really work the way that I wanted. Slow, too. I mean, compared to Ferox Buster, we haven't made it fast yet. Now, I was taking a look at a couple of other tools that we might want to use for this to make it pretty. And we're kind of getting there. So there's terminal tables. That might be interesting. Does Echo automatically add a new line? That's a good question. It might. Yeah, let's see if there's a... anything to do with that. Writes and flushes the parameters to the standard input. Special built-in that takes variable number. Is there like a print? Not really. Like a puts, maybe? Mm-mm. Oh, I wonder if you have to do it that horrible way of, like, using write directly to the file descriptor. That would suck. Ugh. Something you suspected with single quote, it's running PowerShell.exe, not W hidden C. Single quote. What do you mean it's running? JY23NL6U. Thank you so much for the follow. Let's see what terminal tables has for us, because we were looking at that. So what terminal tables does, right, is allow you to create, but I'm wondering, does it redraw every time? I don't love that. Let's see. New terminal table. T2. Where's T2? New Unicode table. Separate rows. Set headers. ID. Name. New self-fave animal. You do write standard out? Oh, okay. Cool. Alright, alright, alright. Let's try that then. That's what I thought you might do. Thanks, sir. So we do write the standard out, which is predefined. Lovely. Now it's going to get messy with our echoes, but we'll see what happens. Yo. That kind of works. But it's interesting. It's Yeah, it is. Now, let's see what happens when it finds something. And it's also, like, not updating super fast. Or, I don't know, maybe that's my redraw on the terminal. It's probably too fast. I guess that's a good problem to have, right? Eh. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Where'd my music go? There we go. Duct tape, this is... It's single-threaded for right now. I was about to go toss some threads at it. Because I want to see how fast we can get this thing. Actually, let me give it our regular word list now. I mean, not the worst. Are there any Nim cones? I'm sure there are, not that I know of. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Of course there are. Code Wars has Nim in, beta. I should have led with that. I'm sorry. Destroy Worlds. Yeah, I was actually playing with this the other night. Yeah, has Nim in beta. Is it not in beta anymore? Maybe it's not. And welcome Raiders. Thank you so much, C-Cube Dev. Really appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, so Nim is in beta, and Exorcism has a Nim as well, of course. And if you haven't checked out Exorcism recently, go back. Go back to exorcism.org. They have completely rebuilt this thing. It is really cool. Boy, that says a lot about me right there, doesn't it? Anyway, there's Nim. There are 67 exercises available for you. They're really, really cool. I love Exorcism as a way to learn a new language. Strongly recommend. And now you don't even have to do it in the CLI. You can do it right in the web if you're interested in doing that. They have an editor built in. All right, let me back up to what Nika is talking about. So, exec process, not command led to create process of PowerShell.exe. Oh, not hidden C. So CMD wasn't interpreted, you're saying. I'm surprised it ever worked too. So you are mystified the same way I am. Okay. For those of you who are just joining us, what we're doing, ostensibly, is we are writing a brute force HTTP browser in Nim. And what does that mean? So often during a web app pen test or any other kind of pen test, if you come up against a web application, you are going to want to see everything that may be there that isn't advertised, right? To do that, what you want to do is have a big old list of URLs, and you want to send rapid HTTP requests to the server to see what you get back. And there are other tools that do this. There's GoBuster, there's DirBuster, there is FerroxBuster, my personal favorite, written in Rust. But I wanted to see how easy it would be to write something like this in Nim. Turns out, not so bad. You know, we're well under 100 lines of code, and we have a working proof of concept here. It's not perfect, but it definitely does the job. Now, let's see about making it fast. FFUF. Did I have a hallucination? So, Nika, I went back and checked the video. I promise it happened. Let me find it, just to prove the point. And Bruno Carata, thank you so much for the follow from YouTube. Really appreciate that. Okay, let me copy the where we did it. It was on a, is it a chill code? It was NIM for pen testing. There it is right there. Okay. Yeah, you can check it out at this link. You can see when Husky and I did it. It happened. It was a Husky stream. Threading. We're looking at threading. That's what we're doing next. That's like what? I know it's all the way down at the bottom here. Threads. So to enable thread support, oh right, yeah, Destroy Worlds, because you were doing it along with us. To enable thread support, the threads on command. Okay, so we'll use that, but then we use the thread pragma. Okay. Oh, but here we go. So the system module then contains several threading primitives. See the channels module for low-level thread API. We don't, let's stay high level if we can do it. There are also high-level parallelism constructs available. See spawn for further details. I don't want to see spawn. Not John Leguizamo's best work. Structured parallelism, parallel statement. Okay, so how does this look? The first thing we have to do is import standard / thread pool, so we'll toss that in there. And then we're going to spawn process line. So the first thing we have to do is kind of abstract out our request into its own proc, no problem. And we're going to have to learn what sync is all about, aren't we? So NIM has two flavors of parallelism: structured parallelism by the parallel statement, unstructured parallelism by the standalone spawn statement. Somewhat confusingly, spawn is also used in the parallel statement with slightly different semantics. Always takes a call expression. Okay, so in a what does parallel look like? And duct tape, if you're there, get your eyes on this, because I know that you do parallel stuff a little bit more than I do. So you have to do the experimental pragma, good to know. And then, okay, so we're doing some math, and then parallel. It kind of seems to me like this is the way that we want to do it. Right? With the compute pi in an inefficient way. Right, but okay, but this is kind of how I think the way that we want to do this. So we're going to set up with the pragma, the parallel pragma is preferred mechanism to introduce. Oh, it is preferred. Wonderful. A subset of the NIM language is valid within a parallel section. The subset is checked during semantic analysis to be free of data races. Cool. A sophisticated disjoint checker ensures that no data races are possible. Okay. Love it. So the first thing, either way, we're going to have to abstract out the thing we want to do in parallel into its own proc, because we have to spawn that. So let's go back to our code and see what we're going to do with that. We're going to spawn float. Okay, so I think pretty much all of this, right? I actually am going to move the right up here, and then all of this is going to be our yeah. And it's going to return let's have it return the string of the status code. I think that's how we'll structure it. Whoops. Okay. So request URL word, and then uh-oh. Can we pass it the client? No, we're gonna make a bunch of different new clients is what's gonna happen here. So I think that's the trick. And then parallel. Is that right? We're gonna do yeah. Is it a promise, or does the thread have another control plane? Good question. It's not a promise. It's not, because promise is async. It's not parallelism. But it does. It has another control plane that we're not accessing because we're using the high-level API, basically. Is the client atomic? Yes. Now, presumably there might be a bottleneck when it gets to the NIC, but I will let the driver sort that out. Okay, so we're doing that. Word, string word. Okay, then we'll say let res string equal spawn, and spawn, yeah, just does this. Request, and request takes URL and the word. And then let's actually bring this back under here. You don't rewrite device driver stream ruin. You know what? It turns out I don't. So CMD is substituted. Nika, I don't know what's up then. PJZ, thank you so much for the follow. Okay, we need to give it the experimental parallel pragma. Is that what it's yelling at about here? Yes. Maybe. Oh. URL, string, word, string. Can the Haskell string be driver development? No. It cannot. I'm sure there's some lunatic that has decided to try to write an OS using Haskell, but ain't gonna be me. Happy to follow anyone writing NIM. I'm curious about it. Got turned off by how hard it was to get basic tools, the package manager installed clearly. Yeah, so PGZ here, I think I understand that. They have made it a lot better. I don't know if you've seen you've seen like the homepage of NIM. They now have, if you go to download, you know what's messed up? They don't make it clear here. So if I click on install, I click on Unix. Okay, so they now have very much like Rust up. If you're doing Rust, they have this installer that will take care of it for you. So that's not terrible. But yeah, so it is a little bit better than it used to be. You need the NIM source to install the package manager. I mean, I guess that's true. I don't mind that. That's true for Rust too. Cargo's built in Rust. Oh, that's true. It comes. You don't have to compile it. It comes as a pre-built binary. That's true. If that's what you're saying. All right. So what's our problem here? Always spawns a new task, so okay. Oh, we have to do res. There's that. Spawn request. So, pull spawn always spawns a new task. The call has to be proc call, where P is GC safe and is a return type that is either void or compatible with flowvar. Is it not? I think it is. I think that it's just giving us that. You know, it's just screaming at us, but I don't know. I think it looks okay. I forgot to add the threads on. By the way, full disclosure for the stream, this is my first time ever writing parallel code. At least for real. I think I've done it a couple of times in like labs in Rust, but I've never actually had cause to write parallel code. So this is a first for me. Aha, okay. So do I just get rid of this declaration? Yeah. Well, it's not working yet. Every other complex. Okay, it's called animation. So I think we're close, but I gotta figure out what to do with this flowvar situation. The data flow variable. And what do I do with it? I paid for the CPU. I'm gonna use the whole thing. Hey, you know what? You're not wrong. Can I just say string in here? Is that right? Okay, so obviously this isn't working out, so that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the threaded process, right? Um, basically, we're gonna pass. Yeah. Is it difficult to get parallelism working in a C program? Ugh. I'm going to assume yes because it's a C program, but honestly, I never have. But I bet there's somebody watching who can answer that question for you. Res flow bar, string smart. Define parallelism. Yeah, that's a good point. Does somebody in chat want to take a stab at explaining the difference between parallelism and concurrency? And then there's async and multi-thread, but even within that, parallelism and concurrency are two different things. So, we're gonna pass status codes to request. The better question is why I'd be using C. Yeah. I would say, you know, if you're looking for speed, consider Rust. Honestly, you have a much better way to do multi-threaded work and async work, actually, with the safety that comes with Rust. Yeah, I like learning if it's an academic pursuit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Zig is also interesting as far as speed goes. I'm not familiar with Zig. Concurrent is two different things, right? I think that it seems like a distinction without a difference, but I actually do think it matters that, you know, generally speaking, at least at the OS level, like concurrency, until super recently, really in computing history, not a thing. So okay, so we're gonna say check this out. If res in all right, let's see what this looks like. What? Oh, so that stops that problem. That doesn't help me there. Yeah, test it. That's up next. Let me just see if I'm getting the printing right. Ooh. Oh, I put it in the wrong place. Okay. I'll live with the spacing for the moment. I can fix it, but... Okay, time to do a real word list. I'm gonna copy... in home... sec lists... discovery content big.txt here. Because I'm tired of typing that path. That is not bad. Uh-oh. What happened? Too many open files. So... we opened too many HTTP clients? Is that what happened? I think... No, I don't want to do that, GoPro. The problem is, I don't want... I'm creating a new thread. I was opening them too much. Yeah. How many threads am I running? N is the answer. That's that's a little bit more complicated. I don't want to do that. Yeah. Threads don't need file handles, sockets and net connections do. Yeah, and I'm making a new client for each. So if I use a single client, I think this is still a bad idea, but if I use a... Yeah, so if I give it the client, I love how I can just pass stuff around and it doesn't yell at me the way that Rust would. Oof. So that gave me a seg fault. That's no good. The client object likely has more to do with state between connections like cookies, etc. But PJs here, it's the only network related code that I have written. So somewhere in there, it's got to be creating a socket, right? Let's go back to our documentation here on our threads, see if there's client to get that makes the socket. Oh, fair point. Fair point. Fair point. Client object itself back. You store for configuration state. It needs to be carried between requests. That makes sense. Nevertheless, here we go. Set max pool size. Sets the maximum threat. That's too many gets. Right. Let's do that. Let's set the max pool size to, what do you think, 16 threads? I don't think so. And this, of course, is something else that we can make a command line argument later. So we're still getting the too many open files. Am I opening anything else? I don't think so. Oh, wait. Hold on. OS error, native sockets. I mean, look at the stack trace here. It's got to be from... It's got to be from the HTTP request. Yeah, it's from the request get. Too many of those are happening at once. Whoa, hey, J Beers. Thank you so much for the raid. All right, let's try to be, you know, scientific here, and we'll set the max pool size to like 1 and see if that actually makes a difference. Well, it made a difference in that I can't do anything. It's not show. Oh, okay, there we go. 113. It's much slower. But is it closing? I guess the thing is, like, is it closing the files? Or is it not? That's so much slower. That's slower than what we had before. That's like, oh, that's awful. Let's kick it up to like 8. You know what? I'm actually going back to what GoPro said about the U limit. Yeah. That's it right there. Is it? No, that's not right. How do you change the U limit? 1,000 should be plenty. You are correct, and yet... Yeah. I mean, let's see if that... we fail at a different location. Yeah. $40.96. What? It's not a shell built in out of binary? Oh, interesting. Well, I tried to set it to 2,000, but it's still 1024. Kill the whole thing? Is this a WSL thing? Maybe? Like, but Hashcat runs just fine in this. JVers, we're writing our own directory brute forcer in NIM. Here's what I want to do. I'm gonna compile this thing. And I'm going to compile it as a Windows. It works for you? I mean, that's awesome. I don't want to run it. Okay. Oh, it's ulimit n? Ha ha ha! Thanks, Richie. Well, let's try it again. See what happens. Mysterious Saxophone. Great name. Thank you so much for the follow. So, let's see if we get past 1,000. Yes. It does. We'll die at 2,000. The problem is, like, why isn't the socket closing? Is there an HTTP client? Yeah. So it's closing. The socket is remaining open. Is there a thing I can do to like client.close? Is there like a manual in HTTP client? Is there a close? There is! Aha! Okay. That is exactly what we are gonna do. Um, so we're gonna try that. Client.close. Let's see how that does any better. It was leaking file handles. Yeah, you were right, PJZ. Well, this is slow as molasses. Should we close after a certain timeout? I mean, this is sync. I don't really know. Whoa. Did I? No. Okay, I was like, did I DOS my own site? No, I did not. Temporary. Temporary failure in name resolution. Get request. Resource temporarily unavailable. May have DOS my local resolver. That's possible. Nope. Good. I mean, look. Sweet, good idea, cache load edition. We're doing a get. And it is an async HTTP client. Now, oh, I have a new client, right? New async HTTP client. New async HTTP client creates a new. And I need the async pragma. Okay, let's try it this way. And we'll give it the async pragma. And then we'll say var is await client.get. Oh, come on. Oh, I need async dispatch. Probably shouldn't spawn threads then. Yeah, I suppose that's right. Well, let's leave it alone then. Let's move client.close out of the request. Can we do that? Or This is kind of how we were doing it before. Client, HTTP client, and then we will pass the client like so. And then we'll do client.close. Can we do that? That's working better. Now let's see if we get past 2,000. So something's going on with the way this is set up for parallelism. I'll have to do some more work on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to revert some of this and kind of... I'm spawning one thread per word. But the threads are not my issue. My issue is the... Right? As you said, like, it's the open files. So it's got to be the sockets that is my issue. And I have a max pool size of 8, so I'm not spawning one thread per... Or I am, but they should be dying, right? Once this is finished. Am I opening my word list multiple times? No, I am not. Hey, Tsuki the Dragon. Alright, here's what we're going to do. We're going to revert this a little bit. So we're going to undo this parallel here. Because we had it working. Okay. Kill this request. We need the client.get, of course. What? Yeah, it is. Word is declared but not used. What's this? Nestable statement requires indentation. 38. Oh, gotta get rid of this. Better. $52. Undeclared identifier result. Oh, actually it would be status code, right? Yeah, okay. So let's get back to this, which was working fine. One last command that's curious. Seems that if you run PowerShell, see who am I, it doesn't get the output, but if you run it in cmd.exe, if you run in PowerShell, it works. You're using Bash and Windows Linux. No, I wasn't. I was using WSL, that's true. Hold on a second. That seemed a lot slower, didn't it? Okay. So definitely could be faster. And it was faster when we had it multi-thread before, but we had a problem with opening stuff. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Okay. Multi-thread. Origin multi-thread. So now we've got a multi-thread branch if we want to play with that. But also we've got a working main branch, which is kind of cool. So I think that's where we're going to leave it for tonight. It's been a long night. But hey, we have a working proof of concept of a NIM brute force directory browser. That's pretty cool, right? I should get rid of that experimental parallel, but whatever. Pretty good night's work, right? I think that's a good place to end it. So thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed it. I know that I did. Let's see. We've got a few other folks who are streaming right now. If you don't know about the hack list, now you do. It's where all of us InfoSec streamers are hanging out. And I think, I see we have Hacker Game. We've got Nofx. Let's give Nofx a raid. So I will be back on Saturday with some blue team stuff. So until then, friends, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking.